Bitcoin's third halving has finally happened today, years in the making, 4 years to be exact, and Bitcoin charts could not be any more primed for a big move in terms of Bitcoin price. What does that move look like? And better question, when? What's up, everyone? Thanks for coming by. Hit that subscribe, hit that like, hit those notification bells. I try and give you daily updates on Bitcoin. Here we go. Let's jump into the charts. There it is. The beautiful long-term zoomed out macro charts. Now, I use the word extraordinary in the title of this video simply because something extraordinary is getting ready to happen. There has been so much speculation regarding and surrounding the Bitcoin halving, and we are there. And the speculation revolves around Bitcoin price continuing, right? We know we've had two other halvings besides this one, and each one, after the halving, here's back in 2012, Bitcoin has put in some incredible parabolic gains, right? Here are some power trend lines to paint that picture for you. And the thing is, most people are anticipating something similar up into that $100,000 range. Will it happen? This is kind of that make or break moment from a data perspective, because Bitcoin is going to let us know now if these consistencies will remain true. First off, everyone, happy Bitcoin halving. It happened finally. I tweeted a little bit ago, now that the third halving has occurred, Bitcoin should begin seeing a clear uptrend in the next 1 to 2 months if historical consistencies continue on the Bitcoin charts. Historical consistencies. Now let's start digging into the chart. Let's talk about price movement. Let's talk about when something extraordinary might happen. And extraordinary can mean downside as well. I just want to throw that out there. If we look at the 6-hour chart, if we look at the weekly charts, we have some very quick data to show you. This is kind of where we are. This chart I want to show you revolves around the 50 moving average, right? This blue line. That's the 50 moving average back in April 2019. This is the 50 moving average, us kind of wrapping around it once again right now. I think I almost remember doing videos from this swing low right here, right at the 200 moving average. I think I remember doing videos talking about, all right, we've come from that 200 moving average. We're at the 50 moving average now with resistance. This is what a move down would look like. And you see this yellow arrow talking about potential retracement to 4,000 down to like 3,700. Bitcoin, thankfully, broke above the 50 moving average. It never happened. We are almost in an identical situation right now. Bitcoin right now coming down from this 200 moving average, right up to the 50 moving average on the weekly chart right here. And the similarities are almost exact. We have a Fibonacci retracement from that swing low to our swing high resistance that we just had right around the 50-week moving average. And we're in the same scenario. We're anticipating a potential dip. This could look like $6,200 down to $5,100. The reality is there. The data is there. It is what it is. Accept it, embrace it, prepare for it, because it can happen, right? So if it happens, it could lead to multiple different bullish setups, because we could have an inverse head and shoulders in play for a final breakout into a bull market. We could have simply a higher low from this low back here in March, and we can have continued support somewhere down here around the 200 moving average on the weekly chart, right? And all of those things are bullish. These things might take patience for us to come back down and have to go through that, but it offers opportunity for accumulation. Now, if we zoom back out a little bit more macro, we have this longer term breakout. For context, we're 70% to the apex of this huge symmetrical triangle. This is the weekly going back to the bull market high, right? So huge. I mean, this symmetrical triangle has a breakout target of like, I think $100,000 or something, close to $100,000. So we're 70% to the apex. I marked 30% to the apex simply because we know in regards to technical analysis, 73% of the way to the triangle apex, 74% of the way for downward breakouts. So 73% for upward breakouts, and we get upward breakouts 60% of the time. This is complete 100% data. This is no guarantee. This is what it is. This is based on historical data. So in terms of what Bitcoin's looking like from a macro perspective, this is where we are. We're inching our way to that 73% area. Now, it could be 70%, it could be 73%, it could be 80%, but we're obviously rounding, or we're working our way closer to the apex, the end of this longer term symmetrical triangle. And that, everybody, is kind of big news from a technical analysis perspective. I can almost guarantee you're going to begin seeing a lot of articles about this setup that you see on the screen. So we keep it in mind, and then we start zooming in on the charts a little bit, right? So if we go to the daily chart, we can look at a few things. I know there's a lot going on. I'm going to explain each one. Fibonacci to 200. What is the Fibonacci to the 200? So Fibonacci to 200 is simple. We take our swing low at the bottom trend line back here, April, end of April, to our swing high to the upper trend line that we just had to 10,000. Everybody remembers that, not long ago, just days ago. And we have a retracement potential to the lower trend line again. It's played out, and it's played out perfectly just above this Fibonacci retracement. It is confluent with the 200 moving average, this red line, right? And it's confluent with this lower trend line. So right now, Bitcoin actually, despite these red days, looks healthy. Bitcoin is just really doing what it does literally for the lifetime of its history, which is it goes up a bunch and then it comes down a bunch to a key area of support. And that's where we are right now. This could lead to a breakout to the downside. So this is the downside scenario. Breakout target $6,000 or so. Now going over to this is the $6,000 area breakout target that's also confluent with that Fibonacci support area. Remember, our swing low to our swing high, back down to our Fibonacci. So you see the consistencies here. Accumulation area, at least for myself. The other thing happening here on this chart, I have Fibonacci upward resistance, right? So let me kind of get rid of some of these lines real quick. I have Fibonacci upward resistance at 93 to 9600. I just want to chart it real quick. So we have our swing high to our current newly formed swing low. We can zoom in on the daily chart here and we can see this is kind of new resistance area on the short term, $96, $9,300, just above a very key trend line, this longer term orange trend line. You can zoom out and you can get a sense for that. Do you see zoomed out? It gives you a really good idea of the resistance ahead for Bitcoin. Now, a breakout of this area, very bullish for Bitcoin, and then we can look at the 6-hour chart to really get an idea of what that breakout could look like. So again, so much going on, but I'm going to break it down for you very nicely. So check it out. Ignore the lines for a second. First things first, I want to show you, and I didn't talk about this yet, this yellow pattern, right? This rising wedge. Bitcoin broke out and hit the target right here of $10,000, right? We just hit that. We had a throwback right back down to the upper trend line. I talk about throwbacks all the time on this channel because they happen so often for Bitcoin. So the other day felt like it didn't feel good when it was happening. I think because it happened so quick, but this move wasn't that big of a move, right? Because what Bitcoin did is it revisited the trend line that it broke back in April 29th. And remember, it broke through almost to its target almost as quickly as it came back down. So if you want to enjoy those gains, get ready to enjoy the losses just as quickly. But that's where we are right now. It's another support area. And this is another area to keep an eye on, because if that fails, we know, again, this $6,100 or so target is very much in play. So be ready for it. And I know I'm integrating some bearishness in there, but it's just because I want you to be ready, because it can happen very quickly. Right now we have some consolidation after that downtrend, and this can continue, right to our target. So be ready for that. But the other thing I want to talk about, there is this Fibonacci resistance we just looked at, 9,600 to 9,300. But look at all this other stuff happening. And Bitcoin is approaching it right now in the 6-hour chart. And this is really what I wanted to just look at right now. Bitcoin approaching this green area that you see on the chart. And that green area is a lot of different things happening. Not only is it below this Fibonacci resistance area, but you can see the upper trend line resistance of this long-term pattern, this falling wedge right there. Let me zoom back in. That's the upper trend line right there. And then we have this white lower trend line going all the way back to our swing low in March at the bottom here. And Bitcoin is currently, this is a 6-hour chart, I mean, entering this green area for Bitcoin. This is May 14th, Bitcoin entering that area. So we are literally a few days away from Bitcoin entering kind of this very dramatic zone where there might be an answer to Bitcoin's next move. Meaning, are we going to break below this trend line down here, right? As Bitcoin gets squeezed into this little triangle, or are we going to break to the upside through this triangle, this upper trend line right here, again, as Bitcoin squeezes into this area? One way or another, even if it just keeps squeezing somehow into this, it's going to break through a trend line. The thing I'm watching for is what trend line is that going to be, and when will that happen, right? So I think now into tomorrow, the next 48 hours, the next 72 hours, I think we're really going to get a breakout. I don't think it's going to extend all the way down here to May 20th or something. And when we do, just put your seatbelts on, right? Because I think it will give a nice indicator of what direction we go in next, especially if Bitcoin manages to break above the upper trend line and this key resistance area that we just looked at, $9,600 to $9,300. Again, remember, that is our Fibonacci swing high to swing low back up to this resistance area. So if Bitcoin breaks this area, there could be a lot of gains ahead for Bitcoin. And let's zoom out on this chart a little bit to get a sense of what that looks like. Now, let me just delete a couple of these drawings because it gets messy, right? If Bitcoin starts moving above this trend line, here's what we have ahead of us. We have this swing high that we have to break back in February, 10,500. And then we have this swing high back in last June, 13,800. How can we get there? It's simple. Bitcoin breaking this long-term orange trend line. This is the breakout target, $13,800. And it all starts with this little triangle that Bitcoin is kind of floating into right now. Like a big thunderstorm, Bitcoin floating into a really key area. And that's what I wanted to do this video on today. I really appreciate you coming by. Let me know your thoughts on Bitcoin's next move. I would love to know. Bitcoin halving happened today. So many people hype on price, but remember, it's going to take a little bit of time to really get a sense of Bitcoin's scarcity, right? I tweeted at the beginning of the day. Let me go find that tweet real quick. Basically regarding Bitcoin halving. And I said, Bitcoin halving marks the beginning of a new Bitcoin cycle. An immediate impact is not the result, so don't expect that. It's the supply shock that will be realized in the after effects of Bitcoin halving as Bitcoin scarcity grows. This is what would lead Bitcoin price to new all-time highs. And there it is, everybody. Have some patience. I think it's coming. There are no guarantees. Be ready for that pullback to that Fibonacci area, $6,000 or so, but also keep an eye on those upper trend lines because they are just ahead of us. And if Bitcoin decides to go bullish, things can happen very quickly. Appreciate you coming by again. Hit the subscribe button if you're here and you're not a subscriber. Hit the like button. Turn those notification bells on. I appreciate you. Have an awesome night. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.